Hello and welcome everyone to another biology class of One Scholar. So, I, Shushmita ma'am, am back again to wrap up the chapter of improvement in food resources with the fourth lecture. So, we already know that this is the last chapter for CBSE Standard 9, and today by discussing the different other methods of animal husbandry apart from cattle farming, which we have already covered in the last lecture, that is lecture 3. We will now deal with poultry farming, pisciculture, apiculture, and then wrap up this chapter. Okay, so without any further delay, let's start our today's discussion. So as you can see over here, poultry farming and egg and broiler production. So under poultry means that commercial rearing of the fowls, including the chicks, then the ducks. So therefore they are raised for their meat and for their eggs. So when it is done on a large scale, so we call it as poultry farming, and it comes under animal husbandry only. Now, egg and broiler production means the two. As for cattle, we had seen in the last lecture that there are two types of cattle category. One is the milch animals from which we obtain milk, and another is the draught animal from whom we actually take the labor. So they are used in the field for tilling, for drawing the carts, for ploughing, and all the associated farming activities. So similarly, here through this video, and then we'll discuss in detail. So let's first watch this video.
You studied about cattle farming in our previous video. In this video, we will study another part of animal husbandry. We call it poultry farming. What does poultry mean? It consists of fowls which are domesticated. Common ones are the guinea fowl, chickens, geese, and turkeys. What's common among all these? They provide us with meat, and some of them lay eggs, which are an important source of proteins for humans. Will the nutrition of these two fowls differ based on the purpose they serve? Yes, they actually do. Fowls that lay eggs do not require a heavy physical body. On the other hand, the fowls which are used for meat need to have a good physical growth. How can this be achieved? Do you know that crossbreeding takes place even in the case of the domesticated fowls? The Indian breed, for example, is crossed with a foreign breed. What is the result of such crossbreeding? The fowls that are bred in this manner have some special characteristics that prove beneficial to poultry farming. Let us look at some of these benefits. The number and quality of chicks is increased when a crossbreed is used. The sizes of the egg-laying birds are reduced, which will need less maintenance. Most of these fowls are then resistant to high summer temperatures. What is a broiler? The chickens which are reared specifically for their meat are called broilers. Once we have two types of fowls serving two different purposes, we have a better idea of what their nutritional needs are. Broilers will have to be fed with vitamin-rich supplements in order to increase their growth rate. Heavier the chicken, higher will be its meat value. What about the fowls that lay eggs? They do not require a very heavy body. Both these, however, must be kept far from diseases and deficiencies. Proper care must be taken with regard to their sanitation and hygiene. Fowls also need to be vaccinated against various diseases. Poultry farming can be beneficial if all the basic needs of these birds are taken care of. Looking at the growing demand for meat and eggs, technology seems to be the only way to cope up. In our next video, we will look at the idea of fish production. Yes, you heard me right. Fish production is all.
So from the video itself, you have got the idea that both broilers and the egg layers, they need to be protected against diseases. They need to be fed properly and specifically according to the purpose they are meant to serve. And how that is actually met, that we will see now. Raising domestic fowls for egg production. So those fowls are known as layers. Then meat production fowls, they are known as broilers. And for meat breed improvement, we need to crossbreed the Indian breeds such as Asil with the exotic breeds, means which are not of Indian indigenous variety like leghorn, and then we can obtain the desirable traits. Now, for cattle farming also, we have seen that for obtaining desirable traits such as high disease resistance, then draw the strength of the cattle, then high milk production, then long lactation period. So therefore, for obtaining all these qualities from cattle, we need to crossbreed. So similar thing happens over here also. So for poultry also we need to crossbreed so that we can obtain the traits which are needed for the commercial use, and these traits include this following: increased number and quality of chicks. So more the number of chicks, so more the number of the fowls which will either lay eggs or they will be used as meat. And the quality also matters, because if the chicks are of poor quality, so more money will be invested in actually their maintenance, and also if they die, so then again we need the actually the investment will be lost. So therefore, in order to ensure the quality of the chicks, it is necessary that they are resistant and to the diseases and they are of good quality. Dwarf boilers parents for efficient commercial chick production are preferred, because already mentioned in the video, because they will be used that as the meat, and also they are just a moment, not dwarf, sorry, this will be dwarf layers, not broilers. This will be dwarf layers, because we are raising them for egg production. So if the body is huge, then more maintenance will be required for that. The feed will be required more. But if the body size is less, so only we need to focus on the quality of the fowl, so that egg quality is of high grade. Then tolerance to high temperature for summer adaptation, because they are actually the bird species that we all know, and hence they are very much vulnerable to extreme harsh weather conditions. So whenever there is high temperature during the summer, so they cannot tolerate that, and ultimately they perish. So we need to check that we will obviously give them shelter, try to maintain the well ventilation of the shelter, but at the same time the species themselves should also be resistant to temperature, so that they do not become so much vulnerable to the heat, that a slight rise in temperature can lead to their death. Low maintenance requirement obviously is always desirable for any livestock, not only poultry but for any livestock, because if more investment is done on maintenance, so then the profit that will be incurred by their commercial use, so that will ultimately be reinvested again for their maintenance. So therefore, in order to obtain more profit, it is always desirable that in the initial investment be low. Then smaller egg-laying birds, I already told you, for utilization of more fibrous economical diets from agricultural byproducts. So the feed that they depend on, the egg layers, they include the agricultural byproducts only because they depend on the plant products only. So the grains, so if the body size is huge, so it will require more quantity of the agricultural products, that will again increase the maintenance cost. Now for broilers, they are fed with vitamin rich high protein diet for rapid growth and high feed efficiency, because the size here matters. Now the care focuses on reducing mortality, maintaining feathering and ensuring high carcass. Carcass means the dead body of animals. Carcass means, so the dead body which is used as meat, so that quality should be maintained, because if the quality of the carcass is low, so we can't obtain, why we will take the meat? Obviously for obtaining proteins and for obtaining all the nutrients present in the carcass. So if the carcass quality is low, so there is no use for taking in that meat. So care should be given so that mortality is less by producing disease resistant, temperature resistant species by crossbreeding, then maintaining feathering, the quality, the grooming is very much necessary, because if their feathers are, because feathers, they help to cover the body, protect them from many pathogens, and they protect the internal, the structure of the body. So the feather quality is also necessary, which will protect them from the environmental stress, that should be maintained. And obviously if we take care of the feed, that will directly actually impact on the carcass quality. So if the feed is rich in protein and vitamin, the carcass will also be rich in vitamin and protein. And when we will actually feed on that, so we can also obtain that protein and vitamin from that meat. Broilers are grown and sent to market specifically for meat, so that we know by now. And then we come to the next category, that is layers. Layers are managed for high egg production, but at the same time, the quality of the egg should also be ensured, just like for the carcass quality. So it requires specialized housing, nutrition and environmental controls, so that the quality of the eggs and the number, that also depends on the mood of the fowl. It has been scientifically proved that if the fowls, they are under stress, so then it will hamper both the yield as well as the quality of their product, that is the egg. So hence it should be taken care that the place where they are kept, the nutrition which they are provided with, and the environmental conditions such as temperature, moisture, all these things should be well maintained in the optimum range for them to produce the increased amount also and the high quality eggs. Then in the daily feed for broilers and layers, they are different, because for broilers we focus mainly on high protein and fat content, so that we know protein is the body building food. So if we provide with the protein to the broilers, it will lead to the rapid growth of the body, and it will help to maintain the quality of the meat also, and repair the tissues from wear and tear as well as from the pathogen attack or diseases. So these all things are necessary for broilers. And for layers also we need vitamins, particularly in your diet, and for health and productivity. So the layers should actually be fed with the grains which are rich in the vitamin A and K, and with good supply of vitamins. Also they can be vaccinated, just like in case of the cattle, to protect them against diseases. Acha, management practices in poultry farming. How poultry farming can be managed? What are the first maintenance of optimal condition? Optimal condition include ideal temperature and hygienic environment. So you have already discussed in cattle farming to keep the cattle under the shade, which should be well ventilated. Then the floor must be slopy so that the urine that they pass should actually flow away and collected and then cleaned on a regular basis. The cow dung should also be cleaned and should be reused for production either of biogas or for any other purpose such as making the manures, so because that is also rich in nutrients. And similarly in this case also for the poultry farm, ideal temperature maintenance is necessary. As I said, the bird species are very much vulnerable to the rising temperature, and rising temperature increases their stress level, and if they are stressed it will hamper the egg quality that they produce. And hygienic environment here will also include that ventilation, regular cleaning and maintenance of the voided. Most of the time in the poultry farms we get to see that there are many fowls but there is no sufficient space for them. So since they are the bird species, they should be kept in places, so they should at least have the space to roam around. So otherwise if they are stacked tightly together, so this will also hamper their life quality, and that will damage also their egg laying quality. Then prevention of diseases and pests, regular cleaning and sanitation will ensure that, because in regular cleaning and sanitation we are getting rid of their excreta, and the spread of the disease will be minimized. Frequent spraying of disinfectants if there is the presence of any pathogen, microscopic or macroscopic, then that will be killed. And effective pest control measures from time to time, but this frequent spraying of disinfectants can be done, but pest control should be done on a regular interval, but not regularly, I mean to say not daily, because in this paste also there are certain chemicals which can be harmful for the fowls. So therefore it should be done as per the norms, and not if you see that there is the pathogen present and there has the infestation by the insects, if you now spray the pest or control or the chemicals more than what is necessary, so it can be very much damaging. It can kill the fowls and it can damage their physiological system. Maybe from the next time they won't be able to lay eggs in the stipulated time, then they may not be able to respond properly, they may leave feeding. So these all symptoms can come up due to the chemical damage. Health management. Poultry is susceptible to diseases from virus, bacteria, fungi and parasites, as well as nutritional deficiency. Ultimately, at the end of the day, they are also living organisms like us. So if we can be attacked by those pathogens, and also due to the lack of deficiency in nutrients, so they can also suffer from that. So same thing happens, and we can check that by these measures. And how can we ensure to check nutritional deficiency? By providing sufficient and balanced diet, not excess or low, but balanced diet which will include the optimum quantity of it, along with including the different categories of the nutrients such as vitamins, minerals, protein, carbohydrates, fats and water also, because without water we already know no living organism can survive. Vaccination, as I mentioned earlier also, is critical for preventing the spread of infectious diseases. So if the fowl is vaccinated, then it will develop resistance against the infectious diseases, and this will in turn minimize loss during disease outbreaks. We already know bird flu, swine flu. So therefore, bird flu actually at that time the huge loss is incurred by this people who are engaged in poultry farming, because nobody buys the chicken. So therefore, and huge amount of the fowls, they are infected, they start to die. Even they need to kill the fowls in order to stop the spreading. So all the other fowls who are present in the same cage or in the same shed, they are killed deliberately, and that is very very pathetic. So therefore, news also spread everywhere that bird flu has become rampant. So people fear to buy eggs also, to buy meat also. So at that time it becomes very hard for the poultry farmers to maintain the quality, and also sometimes the news are overhyped also. So that is also true, but that becomes very much detrimental for the poultry farmers, because they feel hard to make the both ends meet, because the poultry farms are not affected at the same time. But obviously we don't know from which poultry farm the meat we are obtaining, and if that is infested or not. So to have the actual knowledge about the particular situation is very much important in this case. Next, we will study about fish production, which is also known as pisciculture. Pisciculture. There is another associated term that we will study, that is known as aquaculture, but it is different from pisciculture. In pisciculture, we focus only and only on fish. The fish in fresh water, fish in saline water or marine water, fish in brackish water. So we only focus on fish solely. But in case of aquaculture, we focus on all the livestock that we take as food from water or aquatic habitat. This will include crabs, this will include the shrimps, the prawns, the lobsters. So whatever are there that we take as our feed, so that will be included under this aquaculture. And also not only the food, for example, we obtain oysters also, and from oyster we know that pearl is extracted, so that will also come under this aquaculture also. So commercially using the water resource, so that is known as aquaculture. And the commercial rearing and production of fish only is known as pisciculture. So fish production include both finned and shellfish. So since we take prawns and the mollusk also, some mollusk as the food, so therefore we have as fish only, so we have included that under fish. Though they are not fish, so they are, suppose for example, prawn. Scientifically, it doesn't come under fish category. It is known as a type of mollusk only, and it is called in general terms the aquatic insect. But when we buy it from the market, we buy it as a type of fish. Therefore, it is included over here. What is the importance of pisciculture? Pisciculture serves the cheap source of animal protein. So fish, there are different categories. The fish production can be done in the pond also. So if, and in the backyard also, if you can manage to actually arrange any small area or reservoir in which you can culture the fish, so that also you can do. So therefore it is not so costly, it is a cost effective method for rearing of the fish, and then also you can use it as for your personal purpose, for meeting your own demands. So it is also serving as a source of animal protein. Now, there are different types or methods of obtaining fish. We can obtain fish by capture fishery, which means harvesting from natural resources, either, as I told you, from the rivers, from the seas, from the ponds. So these are the natural water bodies. So when we capture that, when fishermen go and use their nets to capture the fish, so that is known as capture fishery. Another is culture fishery. Culture fishery means farming fish through aquaculture. This pisciculture will come under aquaculture. Under aquaculture means, aquaculture is the umbrella term under which the cultivation of the livestock which actually dwells in the water resource, or that will come, and fish is one of them. So definitely fish culture or pisciculture will come under aquaculture. So farming fish through aquaculture means, that means you are actually introducing the seeds, that we will study the process later on, and then from that the fish is growing, and then you are selling that as for your commercial use. So that is culture fishery. And the water sources that I already mentioned talking about is seawater, which means marine ecosystem, and fresh water includes lakes, rivers and ponds from which fish is captivated. India's marine resources extends 7,500 kilometers along the coastline, which give us access to deep sea fishing. And the popular marine fish varieties, the popular fish categories that we obtain from the sea, we will include this: pomfret, mackerel, tuna, sardines and Bombay duck. So these are the types of fish that we obtain from the marine water. And the techniques that are used, obviously the very popular technique, use of net and fishing boat, what has been used traditionally by the fishermen. And then another method is locating fish schools. Schools means the group of fish. Is the school is the collective noun of fish. So a school of fish means a group of fish. Locating that using satellite, this is obviously a costly method. And then echo sounders, what will happen? Sound, it will work like sonar. So sound waves will be generated and it will be sent down in the ocean or the sea, and then when it will hit the fish group, and then it will come back, and then it will be calculated how long is the school of fish located from the platform where this echo sounder is mounted. And in this manner, but both these techniques, they are very advanced techniques, and that cannot be afforded by the poor fisherman. So obviously the most common technique is use of net and fishing boat only till now. Mariculture, so that means farmed fishes, that means which are actually cultured. I told you about culture fishery. So these species are cultured and then they are used commercially. It will include mullets, vetki, pearl spots, then prawn, mussel, oyster, seaweeds. All these things have got the market value. They are sold, they are taken as food also and for other purposes. So for ornamental purpose, and for having, some are rich in nutrients, so they are used as feed. So for that, marine culture means the commercially rearing of the livestock which dwells in the marine ecosystem, that means in the sea water. And oyster cultivation is done only for the pearls. From the name itself you can understand oyster actually is necessary, and pearls are very costly, so oyster cultivation is done for pearls only. The significance of marine culture is that if the marine stocks, the stock of all these species in the marine ecosystem, if they declines, culture fishery are increasingly vital to meet the demands. So therefore, why marine culture is necessary? Because the natural stock which is present in the seawater, it is declining. Now how we are going to meet the increasing demand for all these species, for either for food or for decoration or for any other purpose? So for that we have to grow on our own and then use it for commercial purpose. So because the natural stock is declining and the availability is low and the demand is high. In inland fisheries means the sources which are present within the land. That is why the name inland. The seas and the oceans are present beyond where the land ends. Beyond land we can say. But the freshwater sources such as canals, ponds, reservoirs, rivers, they are present within the land only. So they are inland sources. And then brackish water is there, in which the sea water that also combines with the fresh water, that there is retracing and then they combine with the fresh water, and so that forms the brackish water, and that can be found in estuaries and lagoons. They are present. Now these estuaries and lagoons are generally present close to the regions where we found deltas, because where the sea and the river meet. So in those regions only you can find these estuaries and lagoons. So there the water is brackish in nature, neither solely marine, neither solely freshwater. The methods therefore again is capture fishing. We can actually capture them for inland sources we are now discussing, or if the yield is low, which is the current scenario, then we can go for aquaculture. So what we do, we actually take the fish seed, that means just like the seed from which new plants grow, so the small fish, the baby fish, so their seed, they are called the seed. So they are grown in a reservoir and then they are released in this sources of inland where, from which they grow further, develop, they breed, and then from there we can extract them as per our need. So therefore rice fish cultures, what is this? This is integrated farming. Here when we had done the chapter of crop rotation and the methods, the cropping methods, there only we had one thing, that is integrated cropping. So there we integrate fish farming with rice cultivation. Why? Because paddy, that means the rice cultivation, requires the presence of stagnant water for its growth and development, and in that same stagnant water we can introduce fish. So both the farmer can benefit from both the sources. It can sell the paddy after it is harvested, so it can sell rice also, so it can so he can benefit from rice production. He can also benefit from fish production, because from the field only the water, from the stagnant water, so fish cultivation can be done, and then he can use that fish for selling in the market and obtain his income. And in composite fish culture, what is this? It is a very good method which will actually solve the problem of the lack of resources for multiple fish species. In this, what we can do, we can cultivate different species of fish in the same resource or same reservoir. How can we do that? That we'll study now. It means utilizing 5 or 6 species in one pond only. So there are different layers which are utilized by different fish species, and that is why they do not compete with each other, they do not fight with each other, and they do not kill one another. And also we can obtain all these species all together for the benefit or for large commercial use. First is the surface feeder like katla. So this fish remains on the surface of water only, means very near to the surface. So that is why it is known as surface feeder. They eat on the zooplanktons, phytoplanktons and other fish feed that is made available to them artificially. If you spray or if you give some fish feed in the pond, so that stays near to the surface. Middle zone feeder is rohu. So rohu stays beneath katla. So it actually feeds at that zone. The second zone, then we have got bottom feeder, which will include mrigal and common carp. So they stay at the bottom of the pond, and means 3 layers are occupied by 3 species of fish. And lastly, the weed feeders, such as the grass carp, they actually feed on the weeds that grow on the pond bed. So they are therefore called as the weed feeders. So from bottom up, we have weed feeders, they feeding on the weeds. Then we have bottom feeders like mrigal and common carp, which feed on the zooplanktons, phytoplanktons at the pond bottom. Then middle zone feeder like rohu, and finally surface feeder like katla. So the advantage here obviously is efficient use of available food resources without competition. So the entire food resource of the pond will be utilized by different species in different layers, and but also there will be no competition. But there are also some challenges. What are they? First, seasonal breeding. Many fish breed only during the monsoon. So what will happen? There will be seasonal breeding, and there are high chances of the eggs getting mixed up with one another. So therefore, you cannot segregate the eggs of one fish with another. Then egg quality issues. Wild collected fish seed may be mixed with other species, and there will lead to lack of high quality pure fish seed. So therefore, wild collected fish seed means that which you have collected from outside. Seed here means the small baby fish which will be introduced. And now when they breed, the fish, when they breed in the monsoon season, so therefore the other breed that you introduce in the pond, so that will get mixed up. And also there is obviously the probability of lack of high quality pure fish seed, because in the same pond the eggs are mixing up, the seeds are mixing up. So it becomes very difficult that if you are extracting any proportion of the seed or the eggs, so therefore you can't ensure that it is of pure quality or of one kind of species only. What is the solution then? Solution here is hormonal stimulation in ponds for breeding. That means so that the breeding season also differs, just like the layers differ for different species. By giving hormonal stimulation, we can actually manipulate the breeding season so that they breed at different times of the year, and in that manner the pure quality of the eggs and the seed will be maintained. Then we have this beekeeping, which is also known in terms of animal husbandry, apiculture, means commercially rearing of the bees or the honey. So what is that and how it is done? Let's watch.
practice of beekeeping? Do you know this is a business in itself? Beekeeping farms are very common now. The earliest humans would have procured honey directly from the natural beehive. Well, this is far from safe. Imagine a swarm of bees stinging all at once if there's even a slight error on our part. Beekeeping nowadays is done in a structured manner. Small wooden craters are specially designed to create an artificial home for the bees. This is an extremely low investment business and is surely profitable. It serves as an additional income to all farmers. Do you know that these beehives can also be a source of wax? Yes, they are. Local varieties of bees are usually used to produce honey for commercial gain. Do you want to learn the scientific names of a few local varieties of bees? What do you think the Indian bee is called? It is known as the Apis cerana indica, while the rock bee is known as the Apis dorsata. The little bee and the Italian bee are known as the Apis flore and the Apis mellifera respectively. The Italian variety is commonly used for commercial honey production. Well, that's a lot to learn. But tell me one thing. What is the difference between the Italian variety of bees and the local varieties? The Italian variety possesses some good characteristics. Firstly, they produce more honey than the usual ones. Secondly, they sting less. And lastly, they stay in one beehive for a considerably long time. These are enough reasons to prefer them over the local varieties. Do you know a bee farm has a special name? Yes, it's called an apiary. The name comes from the genus name of the bees, Apis, as you must have just observed in their scientific names. What factors do you think bee farms depend on for the quality of their honey? Firstly, quality depends on the flowers that are available to the bees. Flowers are the source of nectar. Better the quality of flowers, better the quality of honey. Would you like to know a few amazing facts about bees? A bee has to travel to around 50 to 100 flowers during one collection trip. It is believed that a worker bee visits about 2 billion flowers to make just 1 pound of honey. Well, now you know how many bees would have worked in order to provide us with 1 jar of honey. Oh, not to touch or disturb the bees though.
Not only for their commercial use, but we know bees are very useful for us because they are also the biotic agents, one of the biotic agents of pollination. So while they visit the flowers to obtain nectar, so in that process they actually pollinate the flowers. They carry the pollen grains from one flower, and then when they visit the next flower, that pollen grain is received by the female part of the flower, that is the gynoecium, and in this manner pollination happens. And we know pollination is the pre-process for fertilization, and that is why we can get to see the the fruits and the vegetables. These are possible only due to pollination process, and bees actually are crucial in making this happen. So we should all thank honeybees because they are doing so tirelessly day in and day out. And when they are reared in the farms, which is called apiary, as you have already watched in the video, then it is known as apiculture. So beekeeping or apiculture involves raising bees primarily for honey production, but along with that, the byproducts are similarly used for for cosmetic industry or for any other purpose in our day-to-day life. Significance is that honey is a commercially used sweetener, we know, and also a medicinal product. Many medicines, Ayurvedic medicines particularly, they use honey as one of their ingredients. So that is the importance of honey. Then beekeeping requires low investment, making it a viable additional income source for farmers. So if a farmer is doing crop cultivation, so he can simultaneously go for apiculture. That will benefit the crop cultivation also, because the crops will be pollinated properly by the bees from the neighboring farm only, and the honey that the bees will produce can also be extracted and exploited commercially to further add the income for the farmer. And also, the bonus over here is it is low investment. We do not require any high tech machine or any advanced technology to understand the process. Everything will be done naturally by the honeybees. We just need to ensure that there is proper home, which is the beehive that is prepared, that is readily available, and we just need to prepare their home properly so that they can come, and we need to introduce the honeybee variety according to the species that we are looking for. We just need to introduce, and then from time to time we can get the desirable result. We also need to look that they have access to high quality flowers as mentioned in the video, so that the quality of honey that they produce does not decline. Other products apart from honey, I have already told you, is the bee wax, which is used for various medicinal purpose and commercial preparations, such as in the cosmetic industry. Then local varieties or Indian variety of the honeybees include Apis serena indica, which is used for honey production, then Apis dorsata, which is known as the rock bee, and found in forest with high honey yield but difficult to manage. Difficult to manage means some honey bees, they are they sting very much, and you cannot domesticate them very easily. So therefore it is told that they are difficult to manage. They are the wild species, that is why they remain in the forest, and they are very dangerous. If you go near them, they will sting you, and with the poison, so that can actually be very lethal also sometimes. Now, Apis flori, which is also known as the little bee, it is smaller honey eels and found in warmer climates. So the honey that is made by this type of bee, since the size is also small, so the production efficiency is also low, and it is found in warmer climates. Obviously, India is a tropical country. We have got warmer climates in most of the regions, so that is why this type of honey bee species can easily thrive in India. Then in Italian variety, which is most suitable and most desirable for honey production, is Apis mellifera, because of the following traits that it possesses. So that is high honey collection capacity, often used commercially. So the honey that it will actually produce, so it will garner nectar where way more than the Indian varieties, and the production of honey by processing that nectar, that is also very high. So it will sting less, so therefore it can be easily managed, it can be easily tamed and domesticated in the apiary. It stays longer in the beehive, ensuring steady honey production. So that is a very important factor. So you are making home for them, so longer they stay in that, so it is good for you. You will be constantly getting the supply of honey and bee wax, and it is known for effective breeding and high adaptability. So it can easily adapt to the change in the environment, change in the climatic conditions, and it breeds effectively to produce new offspring honeybees that will again actually go for nectar collection and produce more honey. Common beekeeping practices It is done in the apiaries, which are special farms for beekeeping with proper hives and environments for optimal bee production. So why Italian bees? We have already discussed. They are preferred for large-scale honey production due to high yield, docile nature, and longer hive attachment. So these are the main three qualities: high yield, docile nature, they will not sting so much, easy to manage, and longer stay in the hive, which will help to give the sustained supply of the honey and bee wax. So Italian bees thrive in managed apiaries, enhancing honey output. Pasturist. So factors influencing honey quality. So one by one we'll discuss. One is pasturist. Pasturist means the type of flower availability to the honeybees. In the pasture, that means in the nearby, the quantity and quality of honey. The diversity and abundance of flower influence honey flavor and nutritional profile. So some honeys the which have got exposure to the different varieties of the flowers, so that honey will be of high grade, rich in nutrients, the texture of the honey will be improved, and also the quantity that will be available. So higher the quantity of the nectar, obviously higher will be the production of the honey. And not all the types of flowers produce nectar. We already know the flowers which depend on the agents of pollination, particularly which pollinate by, or which depend on cross pollination. So they actually produce nectar. Now imagine the flowers which are actually pollinated by wind or by water, so then they do not produce nectar because they do not need to attract the pollinators like the wasp or the birds or the honeybees. So therefore, even if the honeybees visit them, because the honeybees don't know which flower is producing the nectar, so even if they visit the flower, they won't be able to collect any nectar. So then in this manner, so even if they visit so many flowers in a day, that you have already watched in the video in the facts about honey, but still it depends that how many flowers are actually available to for them to give them the nectar from which they can obtain nectar. So that is actually what counts. And depending upon the quantity of the nectar and the type of nectar that they obtain from the flowers, the flavor and the nutritional value of the honey will vary. Seasonal flowering plants impact honey availability year round. Seasonal flowering plants means some plants flower, for example, in the summer season, some in the winter season. So the type of flower is changing which are available to the honeybees. So obviously the quality of honey produced by the same honeybee will also change. Material, and for them the raw material is the nectar collected from a particular flower species. Location selection. Apiaries are often located near fields of clover, mustard or other flowering plants to maximize high quality honey production. Obviously, more the nearer the location will be for the apiary to any field of flowers or field or valley of flowers, or the where they can get easy access to collect nectar from the flowers, so then it will be easy for them to collect nectar for honey production. What are the benefits of beekeeping or honey or apiculture? First is the economic benefit. Obviously, I told you that it is low cost investment farming. So therefore, it will not cost you much, but on the contrary, it will add income especially valuable in rural agricultural setting, because there, due to lack of technology, or due to unavailability of the resources, so you cannot utilize or implement many advanced methods. So in those regions, if you go with the apiculture along with the traditional farming methods, so that will be beneficial both for the environment as well as for the farmers. Then environmental benefit, I just told you, it helps in pollinating the crops and thus supporting overall biodiversity and crop yield also. Health products, the medicinal products which will be used in healing the wounds or in making cough syrups and ointments. As I told you, the Ayurvedic medicines, they use honey in many of their preparations. So that was all for this chapter, and here we have explored so many types of the cultivation, so many types of the commercial use of the livestock under agriculture. We started with crops, then we went to animal husbandry, where we have looked into cattle farming, fish production, then the apiculture, so all these things, and poultry farming also. So how to manage them, how we can actually protect them. So by going through this chapter, we have got at least the preliminary idea so far what is done in and around us. So next time when you sit for your lunch, dinner or breakfast, and you obtain or you have any of these products obtained from agriculture as a whole, in bringing that particular stand by going through this chapter, that how hard labor is involved on the part of the farmers also, and also the people engaged in this field in producing the products, and also to maintain the livestock or the crops. So much investment is involved, and also in the shipment also, so in protecting the livestock or in maintaining the quality of the crops. So therefore it is actually said that better to donate your food, or to waste. If you think that your food can go to waste, better you feed someone or feed any stray animal rather than throwing it in the dustbin. So that was all from my side. Thank you so much, and stay tuned when I'll meet you next time with another chapter. Till then, take care. Thank you. Bye bye.